Hello. So you're at week 8. So this is the last week of the programme. So congratulations for sticking with it. If you're still stuck with it and you're still watching all these videos, and for the massive effort that I know that you will have put in to get this far. Because as you've realised by now, it does involve quite a lot of work to really look at yourself and really get to know about your eating habits and do the work that it takes to familiarise yourself with what those are. And that's not all the work, is it? Once you can spot these patterns, you then have to work quite hard, let's be honest, to resist the law of those old habits and to keep moving forwards and to use a little bit of willpower, is the reality of it, to not have the things that you want, to not give in to cravings, to make different or harder choices to eat foods that at the end of the day are improving your health, and not only your physical health, but I think it's fair to say that when you've got better control over what you eat and you're not at the mercy of cravings and guilt and all those things that come with it, you end up having better mental health, because that sort of constant thinking about food, that constant worrying about what you should or shouldn't be eating, have you had enough, have you not had enough, what's for tea, that mind, is just mind-numbing, endless thought process is really quite draining and very debilitating. It's taken up really valuable brain power that can be used for many better things. What I find with my one-to-one clients who've been through this process and managed to, what I call finding food freedom, they do find that once they stop thinking about food so much, or eating, or what they should or shouldn't eat, they've got better mental capacity. They're able to think clearer, make better decisions that impact their just day-to-day life. They feel more productive, they can get jobs done, get on top of work. It makes a huge difference when you free up your brain from all that nonsense to find a nice, easy way of eating and a much easier, more sane relationship with food. Okay. So one of the things that I just want to leave you with is the idea of actually starting to build an identity around your new person, your new self, because we're able to do that. I did talk in my book about building an identity. You might decide at some point in your life that you want to be a career woman or a mother, or something to do, I was gonna say sport, maybe not the right thing to use in this context, a sports person, a fitness person. You tend to build identities about things that are really important to you, and when you might have decided that you wanted to pursue a career, for example, or have children, you didn't have any of those things. You had to work towards achieving them and getting those things. You had to start from the bottom and work your way up, but you had a goal in your mind. But it was part of you and your identity that you cultivated that meant that those things were important to you, and therefore you did the work that you needed to do to get you to that place. It wasn't easy. There would definitely be setbacks, but you kept going. And this is what you want to think about with your new identity as someone who eats healthily, who cares about their health, who cares about their energy levels, being sharp in their brain, and being able to really live a very healthy and vibrant life into their middle age and older. You have to start to cultivate that identity of someone who's rejecting typical notions of aging where you just go downhill, that you actually have got some control over that. And when that becomes your identity, you start to then find that you make decisions about that every day, small decisions that move you forwards to become that person, to realise that ambition, to be that person. And that's really key here, because we've done a lot of work for 8 weeks, but 8 weeks is only a tiny amount of time compared to how you've probably been eating for the rest of your life. So you've still got to carry on with the work from here. But starting to think about cultivating that identity of this healthier person, this more an independent older woman, that's how I think of myself now, and being able to live a very adventurous and exciting life when I finally get my daughter to go to university and leave home and give me some freedom. But truthfully, that is an identity that I've assumed, life after being a parent, not being a sad bereft empty nester. You know, I want to be having as much fun as she's having. Yeah, and that's what drives me, that's what spurs me on. So you have to find your identity, and you have to find the thing that's really meaningful for you, so that you have something just to hang on to on those times when it's tough. Okay. Another thing that's really useful at this stage as well is you've got your identity over here of where you want to be and where you want to go. But then you're also trying to see if you can parcel up the old eating habits that you've been trying to dismantle over the last 8 weeks. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of examples based on one of my clients who had put on weight over, and this is probably quite typical for a lot of people actually, put on weight during a difficult period of time. Often we can be stressed, and this particular person had gone through a lot of stress with a divorce, with a relationship breakup and a divorce, and then struggling being a single parent on her own. And that was a very difficult time in her life. And that was a time where she started to put on the weight, okay? And then got to a point in her life where was in a different place. You know, she'd met someone else, she was in a very happy, solid relationship, she had a good career, all of those terrible things were in the past. And what we did was we identified that weight represented a part of her that she wanted to let go. And when you can start to then visualize the weight, and the weight is only a product of your eating habits, you know, eating the wrong things, comforting yourself with food, eating to distract yourself from your emotions. When you start to recognize that that's maybe part of an old version of you, you can actually think that every time you're tempted to go back to those things, you don't want to be that person anymore. And you want to let that person go into the past, those hard times, and those hard times that spurred those negative behaviours, okay? And the side effect of which was carrying more weight, and then all the the low self-confidence and that comes with that. So that can be a really powerful thing to do. This is something I've done for myself. So my eating habits were around, I would eat when, and I'll say will actually, because you still have this little part of you, and that's okay to know that that's still there somewhere, because you're always trying to sort of keep that person, those habits away. But it's a work in progress, and it's a long, I was going to say battle, but you've always got to be vigilant, yeah? So for me, when I did the work and worked out why I ate, it was to do with fear, worrying about my work, worrying about my financial security, being nervous about, maybe a lack of self-confidence. And, every time I had to do something in my job that was difficult, I'd step away and I'd go to the fridge. I might be worrying about, never being able to relax enough with my work and having to feel always on. If I stopped working for any time, then it would all collapse and fail. So I was never able to switch off. And the only way that I could switch off was to drink wine, to eat nice food. Nothing wrong with nice food. Eat too much food, eat the wrong things, chocolates, sweets. And what you start to do is you're using the food that you're eating to compensate or to hide away from something in your life rather than face up to it. And when you start to describe that, you can actually start to almost build a little visual picture. And that's where I feel now. I can almost hold those little behaviours in my hand. And that idea of me being stood in a fridge or with my hand in a cupboard or sneaking some chocolate that's not mine to eat, that I do that when I'm frightened, when I'm anxious, when I'm worried, when I'm self-conscious. And or worry that I'm failing, worrying that I'm not good enough. You can elaborate and build on that as much as you need to. And I don't want to be that person. I don't want to have those fears, those anxieties. And when you're allowing yourself to just go and find comfort in a cupboard, you're feeding those fears, you're feeding those anxieties, you're feeding those behaviours, you're hiding away from the world, you're hiding away from yourself. And for me, it was making a decision to sort of say, no, that's not me anymore. I don't want to be hiding behind those behaviours. I want to step out and be confident and not be frightened all the time and face my fears. It doesn't mean that everything's going to be an immediate success and there's never going to be any hard work or any challenges. But it's more that I don't want to be that nervous, frightened, fearful person. because that doesn't make you successful either. When you're hiding away from the things that scare you, it doesn't make those things go away. It doesn't really protect you. And that's just my story. Another person's story was to do with a relationship breakdown. That was her period of stress. My period of stress was around difficult times at work insecurity, financial insecurity, and that's where that manifested itself. But once you can start to realise that you don't want those eating behaviours to be something that holds you back, you've got quite a strong sense of what your motivation is to move forward, and to know that you can still have those fears, still have a hard day, still worry, but know that the answer's not in what goes in your mouth when you're not hungry to make you feel better, because that's just it doesn't really work, does it? You know that if eating something crap made all those worries go away, we'd all be doing it, wouldn't we? And that's really what I want you to think about now as you come to the end of this programme. Do some of that work, build that new identity about who you want to be, what you're moving towards, and see if you can identify what those eating habits have been that's been holding you back in the past. And the work is to try and let go of those things, because we eat for a reason a lot of the time. We eat to comfort ourselves, and we're trying to let go of those things. So we have to acknowledge them to be able to let go and move towards this new person. Okay, so that can be really powerful. Keep your journal. I'm sat here with my notes in mine, and write, remind yourself. It doesn't have to be every day, but make it a regular habit. Do exercises like hitting the reset button. Keep that at the front of your mind. You'll have a bad day, something will happen, or you'll have a bad sleep. There'll be a crisis at work or at home or somewhere that's going to throw you off course. You're always going to need to hit that reset switch. You're always going to need that as a tool, because that's life. And this programme is about saying, or recognising, that we have to find strategies to cope with the ups and downs, and to do our best to smooth those out, okay? So that we not, swing in between extremes. We're smoothing those out so we can cope with life, because the way we eat and the way we think about food is becoming more and more consistent over time. And we're separating life drama from emotional eating, overeating, mindless eating, unconscious eating. We're trying to make those things separate as we can. So the things that work are the things that we probably covered in the first couple of weeks. Do your best to get a good sleep. Everything is so much easier when you're not tired. Do those little things that help you stay organised. Plan your meals. Keep checking that you're enjoying your food. Make sure that you've got all the things in that you need. Remember, protein makes a massive difference to your appetite, to the way you metabolize food, and potentially, in certain individuals, to your fat levels as well. So that's a really big thing to remember. That's just so important. You've got these real set pillars to follow that are so simple. You're trying to get to a point where you just set it and forget it. Plan your meals out once a week. Just check that food plan every night to make sure you're eating the things that you've had. Do they have protein? Are you enjoying them? And watch out for the warning signs, the cravings, the eating in between meals, because something's then gone wrong, probably with the sleep, or you've not had the right things in. You've run out of protein, and therefore you're hungry and you're snacking. Those sorts of things. Okay, so you're just going over the same things again and again and again, and that's it. And hopefully, the more you become used to that, the more you can notice that you don't spend your days thinking about food. You are able to think about other things and concentrate more. You feel more proactive, productive. And your journal is a lovely thing to use for that as well, to recognise when you've had, you've had an easier day. You're starting to feel more in control of your life. You're starting to feel more in control of your day. And that brings your happiness up, your mood up. You start to feel more confident in what you can do and what you can achieve. Document that in your journal as you notice that, and make sure you're tying that back to the changes that you've made to your diet, to your eating habits, and to your routines. Because then you're really, really making that strong connection with the benefits that you're feeling every day and the work that you've done to get there in just making this diet healthier and working on finding some freedom from food. And you want to just reinforce that all the time so that you never forget that what is creating this great life for you now, or this much improved life for you now, it's the work there, because you just want to make sure that they become your non-negotiables, the things that you just will never not do and become automatic. And once you've got to that point, things become a whole lot easier. Okay, so that's it. We've done 8 weeks together. You know, I really do hope that you've found some value out of this. You've been able to make some changes, go back over the program, do it again if you want to, and let me know how you're doing. You know, I'd really love to hear from you and to know what you've thought, how you found it, how it's changed things for you. Let's have a chat. If you drop me a line, I'll always get back in touch with you, and we'll have a little chat. Wonderful. Really appreciate your time. Really appreciate all your hard work, and I wish you every success in the future. Okay, bye for now.